GM, everyone. Hot Takes and Cold Wallets, episode number 21. We're rolling, guys. We're on a roll. Nikita, Juan, hi, how are we doing?
Yeah, doing great. Summer's finally starting to come in, or late spring. It's a nice time in Canada out here and around the world. So yeah, I'm excited for the next batch of conferences because it's going to be nice weather, nice vibes with everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Here is good early morning for this part of the world as well. So good to start the day with hot takes, hot wallets. I think the topic for today is actually pretty exciting to talk about. A lot of things happen on the security aspect over the weekend that we are going to be speaking today. So yeah, really excited about this episode to be speaking with all of you today.
It's hard to keep up, really, with the stuff that's happening in the space, but with a show that's called Hot Takes and Cold Wallets, it's perfect to have you here, Michael. Michael from Trezor, community specialist. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, guys. First of all, thank you for having me today. I just want to say the weather here is also the beautiful April weather. It's just windy, cold, sunshine. And being here in the Czech Republic, actually where the HQ of Trezor is, the weather all around this time of the year is just absolutely crazy. But summer is coming, and I think that's what we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, it's kind of the same in Germany. It's weird. You have it warm, you have it cold, and it's breezy. You don't know what's happening, but I guess we all have a portion of that, especially the guys at ChainPatrol, because they're always traveling. And Nikita, Juan, what is the latest on your part? I mean, we have a lot of security incidents to discuss, but what's happening on the ChainPatrol front?
Yeah. We have a few things coming up. We've got Bitcoin in Vegas. We have Consensus Miami coming up. Lots of crypto conferences happening. We're also traveling to something interesting in the more traditional kind of fraud space called Safeguard. This is a major conference coming up. Lots of leaders across fintech, banking, like others coming there. And that's an interesting thing I would say is that everybody's becoming very aware of crypto and the threats related to it all around the world, not just in our specific kind of batch of the industry, but like traditional companies are all moving on to crypto rails. And so now they also have to become aware of what are seed phrases? How do you store your funds securely? How do you get a cold wallet? How do you actually move these funds in a secure way? What advice do you give to like your customers and so on? And how do you set up multi-sigs for your organization? So it's like everything we've semi-learned over the last couple of years. There's a big portion of the world that's learning this completely fresh. And so we have like a whole new wave of education to do.
Yeah, that's a good one. Gladly we got Michael here tonight or today. Michael, when we're starting the journey as like a hardware wallet customer, buyer, yes, whatever you want to call it, like sometimes in the space we have discussions with people. They say like, hey, I just bought a hardware wallet and now I'm perfectly safe. What is wrong about that conception?
So that entire conception is wrong for a few reasons, because today I would say the user journey is we see a lot of hacks going online and people actually hear about this. So the first thing they say to themselves is, I should get myself a hardware wallet because all of my funds will be safe there at the end of the day. But this is a very important thing to understand, that many people, they trust and they don't verify what they sign. And the misconception is that if I have a hardware wallet, I'm completely safe from anything that might happen, because even if I sign a contract somewhere with my hot wallet, it cannot touch my hard wallet. So the educational purpose behind this is that a lot of people online, especially that we deal with, and like, let's say, a lot of users which are transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3 do not understand the concept of hot wallets and smart contracts, even for cold wallets. And we see this a lot of times as well, is that if a user, for instance, uses his cold wallet and he uses it to sign a third-party application, like let's say it could be anywhere happening online, and somebody gets a hold of this third-party application and changes the code, it could also completely wipe out their entire hard wallet savings. So for us, the most important thing is also that people must understand how they use their hardware wallet. So for instance, if you're a person which likes to store crypto and uses like a hardware wallet somewhere to store it, that's the perfect way to do it. But people, they want to make more money today, and that's probably the hardest thing about it, is that people become too emotionally challenged to try and use as much money as possible, do not accept the risks, do not verify what they're doing, and they just go blindly into it.
And I think it's important.
Yeah, Nikita, can I chime in there for a second? One follow-up question for that. Do you think it's like an UI error or UI challenge we see, or is it more like an educational thing that we see on the end user's part?
I would say it's actually kind of both type of ways, because sometimes you cannot display everything that is going to happen with that. When you sign that smart contract, you cannot always read everything that might happen at the end there. Sometimes it's very hidden very well. The next part is the educational part, and that's the problem where we see everything mostly today is between when you are a new person, you're coming into crypto. If you're not educated enough about the space and what you're going to get yourself into, it can have detrimental consequences to the way you use and store on your device. And I think somebody had a question there, Nikita.
Yeah. I was gonna add in that I think it's important to know too that like if your funds are in a protocol and it gets hacked, then it's like really doesn't matter where they are, right? Like
Exactly.
cold water, hot wallet. There are still many ways that funds can be stolen besides your seed phrase being compromised or you signing a malicious transaction. That's what happens. That's why the smart contract audits are so important, but also for you to have a bit of like an understanding of the risk of like where are you putting your funds. But nowadays it's even with a very large protocol, we're seeing very large protocols getting hit that were even having a ton, like they did a lot of work to put in the security in place. I just think we are in a place where the level of security that was acceptable like half a year ago or a year ago, up until that point, it was good. But now the hackers have an unlimited army in AI in finding bugs where before they would have to go line by line through the code, find a sophisticated attack. Now it's like one hacker is like 100 hackers, and so that's something that I think protocols need to be aware of, and essentially need to think of it like if there is a bug, it will be found. It's just a matter of will you find it yourself or will the hacker find it?
I 100% actually agree with that. Raises an important thing, because for somebody who has been in crypto for almost right now going 7 years strong, and beginning, like I remember the first days of using such as any DeFi protocols and such stuff out there, I would store like a large amount of money, and you wouldn't actually think that something could go wrong. And now we've heard stuff such as like Kelp DAO, Drift Protocol, and all these things which have either had exploits or they have had social engineering in mind. It raises the question as to, to use DeFi today is kind of a very double-edged sword. It has, of course, great rewards and everything, but it's not entirely safe, and you do not own your funds. It's always, as we like to say, if they're not your keys, they're not your coins at the end of the day.
It's an interesting topic. We're going to be coming back to hardware wallets in a second, but I wanted to update like the listeners, of course, on the Kelp DAO type of situation. Nikita, I think we talked about like a lot of these attacks being supercharged by AIs, basically. And I think like the last episode or two before, we talked about like the state-sponsored actors being like able to run their own LLMs, maybe like having something hidden in the background where no one is able to like catch yet what they are doing, and they kind of build their own AIs because they have like unlimited amount of funds, especially when we're talking like about North Korea, because they like stolen, I don't know, like is it billions? Is it more than billions yet what they've stolen from crypto? And it's crazy because like last week or a few days ago, they also hacked the Kelp DAO for $292 million. And I don't want to be going into the nitty gritty right now because I'm not a big DeFi guy, so I don't understand everything that was going on. But what I can say is that the Arbitrum Security Council, they made a move, and they decided to freeze $70 million in funds that were stored on the Arbitrum blockchain. Just to go one step back, you need to know that the Security Council, I think it's 12 people on the council, and 9 out of these 12 people had to agree to, yeah, we're stepping up, we're trying to protect the users, and we're freezing the funds. Which then brings us to the discussion about like DeFi, decentralized finance. Are we really decentralized? Nikita, we talked about this like when we talked about the multi-sig with 2 out of 5 signers like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We talked about this too. And I think for DeFi, it's great that we're stepping in for user funds, but for me personally, it also challenges the thought of like, hey, are we really like immutable on chain? And when do we decide when like a big hack is big enough, quote unquote, to be stepped in and to be taken action on? Like, is it only on state actors? If it's like a well-known hacking group from, I don't know, like Canada, America, I don't know, Brazil or whatever, do we step in there as well? It raises some questions for me, and I think it raises more questions than we have answers to it yet. Nikita, what's your stance on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to see some action here. I mean, these systems look like there are some benefits to building a 100% fully decentralized system, but these systems, because they were able to freeze the funds, they show that you know it's not entirely just a set of nodes running across the world. There is a security council that adds a layer of decentralization, but when it's important, they can come through and make a decision that I think is to the benefit of like majority of the users of the chain. It's just like how could you get like everybody on that uses the Arbitrum chain to vote on this in time? Not really. It's hard, right? It's kind of the same reason governments exist, right? Like if you had to have the entire population vote on every single thing, you wouldn't be able to make time sensitive decisions, right? And so I think I'm really happy with the way Arbitrum acted on this. There's a lot of people like Tay and others in the space who have been like beating this drum for a long time. It's like we have the tools. Like we have the ability to recover funds during these attacks. We're able to freeze chains or at least freeze funds. I mean, in these cases, and so I think it's a good thing overall. Like the capability, it's not that the capabilities aren't there. The capabilities are already there. So we've already crossed the decision threshold of do we want it completely decentralized or to have a security council, and this is what the security council's job is. I think they acted in a beneficial way, and maybe this will be the start of a bit of a different approach because I honestly think anything over we should probably just set like a dollar value to this at least to start and say okay, everything maybe over 10 million is grounds for engaging the council and seeing if like we can freeze funds. Anything underneath that, I mean, it sucks, but maybe not. Like we do have to set like some decision making criteria. Otherwise, things are going to be triggered all the time. But I think there's enough of these large hacks that if we can put it in something that says, okay, if the dollar volume is over this amount, let's put action into place, we could actually do something about it. So we can get a lot of.
Would you think the industry would come to a consensus on that?
No, it probably would have to be individual teams deciding. Also, it depends what protocol you are. For Arbitrum, it might be 10 million. For a smaller protocol, it might be 1 million. It depends how much volume is flowing through your kind of area of the crypto world.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, from your point of view, like from an end user perspective, does events like this, do they change the way people like are percepting the way self-custody is working?
Yeah, so I think like if you're going to be dealing with, for instance, when Trezor started out, just to give you kind of an example, it was a heavy Bitcoin user based. A lot of Bitcoin users are very heavy on the emphasis of just owning your crypto, not sending it anywhere or using it in any sort of way. And as we started to alternate into like alternative cryptos such as Solana, Ethereum, and all the others, it changed the way we also kind of perceive it in our user base. So our user base is kind of now divided into two ways of self-custody, how it measures. For instance, we could say one, Bitcoin OGs, they are really heavy on self-custody and not doing anything with it at all. But when it comes to like the aspect of somebody who like, let's say is a heavy Solana user and they see this happening, I could give you an example. One could be Pith. If we all know this was a heavy governance type of usage token, and they'll always be voting kind of weekly or basis on the use of something new. But when I think it comes to like a council like this is a new I would say, challenge for us as people in crypto and understanding the world of self-custody, that it is a more centralized type of way of securing funds and making sure that not more damage is done. I wouldn't even make it more like a centralized type of topic. I would say it's people who want that the chain doesn't completely dissolve into disaster by itself, and that they're basically the guardians of the chain. That's how we view it. I would say the Bitcoin people, they cannot care so much about these things because they believe in a different type of doctrine, versus if you're somebody in a different type of chain, you would see this as, this is actually a great way forward for us to increase our security and for us to increase the way our users perceive the way our, I would say, token and team behind it are protecting it in the best possible way, and also to ensure that there will not be a chaos coming from this.
Yeah, I would say Michael put here like a pretty interesting idea. That is to think about like ideology, and I would say security and self-custody as different like values that we have in our ecosystem, that depending on where you're standing, you may be caring more about this or not. I understand, for example, that one of like Bitcoin and crypto promises is being decentralized itself, like being decentralized ecosystem, decentralized finance, all of these. But I think it also comes to thinking about like different layers that we can put into this. Like, I don't think that one thing is 100% decentralized, another thing is like 0% decentralized. Like in this specific case, I think we can think of Arbitrum of like a decentralized chain, but has like a backdoor maybe to have like some centralized solutions in cases like this. And it's not only the only chain. And I think that, as Michael put it, like the idea here, like Bitcoin people might be thinking of like this, like something corruption, but it's based on their ideas. It's based on how like they operate and how they keep their money safe from that. And I think also relating this idea of decentralized to also like the Kelp DAO protocol itself, it also comes to the idea of thinking about like how decentralized finance and how like Aave being one of the main companies running this in terms not only of like TVL or like more company total value locked that it has in their system, but also on experience and how people actually consider Aave itself. Like, okay, it's all DeFi protocols are insecure. Aave is the more secure one. I think the idea now is like breaking a little bit the outflows of the company talk for itself. But what I want to come in here is that thinking about Aave as a decentralized finance exposure is also difficult to think in this case as 100% assurance, mostly because they are right now in a decision to think about like who is going to be taking the bad debt of the protocol. Is the treasury of the protocol? Are the like restricted ETH users? Is going to be like all different depositors of like ETH in the protocol? So these things happen in a decentralized protocol, but it's something that management needs to take a decision, right? So again, I think it's about thinking different layers, because I don't think that there is something might be 100% decentralized in this space. Like it also comes to kind of like a council when it comes like to arbitration decision and people actively deciding on this. But yeah, I want to break a little bit that something might be 100% decentralized without like no inputs at all from people operating in these different ecosystems that we have.
What I find really interesting is that probably the hackers are gonna avoid Arbitrum like the plague from now on, because they know, oh my god, there's a security council, we don't want to fuck with them, and they don't want to fuck with us probably, which is kind of crazy, because if you take a stance as a chain, like this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't moment, basically. Like you can't please everyone, but protecting like user funds is always a good thing, I think personally. So yeah, we can like discuss about ideologies and stuff like that all day long, but like securing the funds, freezing the funds, and making sure and like the whole space doesn't have like a whole earthquake at the end of this thing is probably the best way to go. So Michael, this is all happening at protocol level. So nothing like the end user can really do against, like even if they have a hardware wallet, which is like a great start. What is something that you see like commonly that people do wrong with their hardware wallets?
So
It's actually quite an interesting topic. So I'll give you just a fun fact. At Trezor, we prioritize in creating education as the most important thing. We have a lot of blogs and articles that people can read about this. And sometimes it just goes over my head that if you are a user and you kind of are, let's say, new to having a hardware wallet, you write down your wallet backup, or AKA seed phrase, but you do not practice the idea of wallet recovery. So sometimes this might be like an issue that one letter has changed, and now you actually have a big problem of not recovering your wallet. And also, where do you store it? How do you store it? There are also other ways, such as paper can rot over a period of time. It can humidify. So there are very important ways of how you should treat your wallet backup recovery. You should train it. You should kind of give it an idea that where do I hold it safe? What do I do with it in case of emergencies? This is type of the biggest problem we kind of see with new users. I think the biggest and the worst problem is passphrases. This is something we deal almost on a daily basis, and it's like, okay, I forgot my passphrase. What should I do now? And like we are like, well, not really, absolutely nothing, man. You will have to keep on guessing. And that's one of the biggest things, that you have to practice wallet backup recovery. We kind of recommend it to do it like probably every half a year. If you're a little bit more scarce of it, try and do it every month. But you have to keep on testing these new methods out. Another fact that I also want to kind of pinpoint on is a lot of people, let's say you have the recovery and everything okay, but you forget your PIN. So we also type of prioritize that people should also play around with their devices on a weekly basis to not forget their PIN, not to forget how your device works. So this is kind of just a type of thing that we see commonly, especially if you have people who are of older age and they're not really like type of fanatics or Web3 guys that we see on a daily basis. These people might have it the hardest because they believe that everything is safe, that they don't need to update their devices, and everything will be fine. But having a hardware wallet device today is a very challenging thing. Reason being is that people do not update their firmware on the certain devices. Some of them, they just leave them for let's say months on end there, and either something can go wrong with the firmware of the device and it's lost forever, or for instance, God forbid that this device now becomes hackable, or that there is some security issue in the near future. So these are the type of issues we do commonly see.
Nikita, is there a way you see people currently like mistreating the hardware wallets in case of, hey, I got this and now I'm invincible, I'm safe, I can do everything I want to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few common ones. I mean, Michael mentioned seed phrases, and sometimes people make this transition from, hot wallets over to cold wallets, and sometimes they will just import over their seed phrase as well, right? And that's a no-no. You need to create a new one and send over the funds. Because if it was exposed in a hot wallet, well, if you're still running that hot wallet somewhere, and you get your laptop gets compromised or something similar, those funds are gone regardless. Like, having them in the cold wallet doesn't make them secure if that seed phrase is exposed elsewhere, right? So you need a fresh one when you're starting over, or like when you're starting with a cold wallet. You need a fresh one and transfer those funds, not just import it from a hot wallet you might still have running somewhere. And then other things I would say is that people click through warnings a lot. Like, you can still get phished. It's getting phished with a cold wallet is a bit rarer, just because you kind of like, it's just harder to move a lot of funds at once, and so there's more time in between. It's not like you just clicked accept in your browser and that's it. It's like you got to pull out the hardware wallet, you got to type in your PIN, you need to you need to get a bunch of you need to like approve different transactions. Sometimes you can't even move all the funds at once, and I think that's a good thing, because all of those pieces, they make it harder to get phished, because it forces you to stop and wait a little bit. I honestly think, I don't know, Michael, is there any thing of like time locks or anything else like that that's been built into Trezor, or like I don't know if the team has given thoughts about that, because everybody in security space has talked about time locks, and I almost don't see them being used anywhere. Like that's the interesting thing.
But I mean, like the device switches itself off in a certain time period.
No, it's more like if you wanted to send a large amount of funds, there'd be like a 10-minute cooldown before they're actually sent, and then like you would say like
we don't have. I don't think specifically. I haven't actually tried that out yet because I don't really send that much. But I think this is actually quite a good stuff that something is being developed in that sense of way. For instance, what we do have is, for instance, if somebody is trying to get into your device and try and put in incorrect pins, we have a hard lock on that it keeps on getting longer and longer and longer. That's one thing for sure. But for instance, when it comes to the fact of sending it like large amounts, I haven't yet seen that personally, and I might not know about this myself specifically.
It's very rare. I haven't seen it almost anywhere. I know only that Safe, like the multi-sig, that they do have some option where I think you can add that as like a plugin, but honestly, I've seen very few people use that.
I think Zengo used it with their MPC wallet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like the
not
exception.
a common pattern, even though I think it'd be a good one to standardize. Kind of.
I think they came up with the idea. It was like, man, if somebody's gonna be sending this amount, they should be freely to do so. And if they get burned once, I don't think they'll be burned second time. But it is quite an interesting type of thing, and I think this is kind of like the baby measure, you do before sending out like big amounts. I can give you kind of an example how phishing happens, like a Trezor users, or how they are being phished out. If this is also kind of an interesting part of the topic. There are many ways. Of course, we have the traditional like cold messaging. This usually comes in the form of like, I'm somebody from Trezor. This is the most easiest thing you've ever seen. But what also happens sometimes is we see something very unique. Okay, you have now calls happening. People, they will literally call and they will pretend that they're somebody from Trezor, and they will kind of run them through like an entire customer user experience type of thing to get their wallet back up. Another thing is what we're seeing is that people, and this was very funny to us, people from Ledger, they would receive letters from Trezor. Kind of fake letters from Trezor with a QR code that you would have to scan, and bam, all of your stuff is gone. And they were like, I don't even own a Trezor. Like, why am I getting this? And so they came up with the thought there that the scammers, that they've seen that if they have a Ledger, they might also have a Trezor. But all of this comes from the USA, funny enough, and we're trying to actually track down how this is happening. So there are many ways that they're becoming super creative. And the best part is that if you have a very fast, responsive, and educative community already, they will step in to help these people and say, no, this is completely fake. You must not engage with this. You must not trust it at all. And what I do like the most is if somebody is like feeling something in their gut that something's wrong, they should come and ask us on social media or give us like even on Reddit, wherever. We're more than happy to answer. And this way we can educate people about the event that will unfold if they go forward with doing this sort of phishing or something like this. So it is a painful process of constantly educating, and there is unfortunately no answer to stop this. It's just passively educating everybody to the maximum as possible.
Michael, does your brand face many impersonators? It's funny because Nikita and ChainPatrol, like the whole thing is brand protection and killing impersonators, killing all these accounts. If we talk about Ledger, like I see a ton of impersonation accounts on Ledger, but I think I have never seen one on Trezor, to be honest. Like,
no,
not once.
We haven't seen one, actually. It's quite funny enough. I'm known there on Trezor, and I haven't seen not one person impersonate me, which was quite funny to me because I'm very active on social media, and we get these sort of fake accounts, but you can instantly tell that they're fake because they have like KPZ, not a real name, and we instantly get rid of them. If we see them on day one, we instantly report them, and our reports go a little bit faster, so we get rid of them. But we haven't seen any impersonators whatsoever.
Nice. Oh, it's interesting. We have had some actually data on this. I'll send it over to you. I think there's might be some deeper stuff we can find, but I'll send that over separately. But I do think that I do see that when we have ran our scans, I've seen that you guys are putting in the work to actually get rid of them very quickly. So that is good. That is good to see. I think it's important because, it's something that users are being impacted by, right? It's something that we're seeing. There's different organizations. Some of them care a lot more about this. Some of them are like, oh, if our user gets scammed, it's not our problem. It's a them issue, and what they don't realize is this is really like, one, it's like kind of an immoral way of thinking about it, I would say. But let's say we just go pure like capitalist mode. It's user churn, right? It's people that aren't in your user base anymore because they're just not touching they're not touching your product. They might be not touching crypto at all anymore. So it's really just churn that is, hurting your bottom line. So if you want to think of it purely economically, it makes sense to protect these users in this sense as well.
It is for us the most important thing. Like, funny enough, there will be sometimes scammers talking beneath a comment. Like, it's the most craziest thing is that these scammers, they want to help the person first of all, like in the comment section, and they're nobody from our team at all. They just put into their bio that there's somebody from the team, but this person doesn't exist at all. And we always come in there and we reply, please do not engage with this account. This is a fake person, and they are trying to fish you out there. We always think that it's the most plausible way is to be constantly active and to try and repulse them as much as possible.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, that's a great one. Michael, you said like your hardware wallets, they protect the keys. But I would say like hardware wallets do not protect the user's decisions, right? And this is like when we can weave into the scams that we just talked about. I actually uploaded a video on YouTube on that like letter scam like a week ago, and it went pretty good. People were interested because I think what's most dangerous is when you have like a physical phishing attack. Like we all are used to the mailboxes of us are probably like compromised. We have been exposed everywhere. We are just getting 200 spam emails like a day when you have engaged in crypto once. But if you like receive a physical letter at your home address, especially if you're not like deep into Web3 and you're not like on Twitter all day, you're not like into the latest topics on Reddit or whatever, I think like a very like concerning letter, it can probably get a lot of people when they are scanning a QR code.
Oh yes. It's also the most like type of concerning shit that can happen because let's put it in this way. We wipe the data of our users every 90 days. That means, for instance, if you ordered something within 90 days and so on, we wipe the data completely clean because we do not like to keep data of our users. We have, of course, like an email subscription if they want to find out the newest deals and stuff like this. But what we found out is now it's not even happening that much. But in the past, something triggered this event to happen and unfold, and that was something to do with a third party with us in the past. But since then, none of this has happened. What we had observed, though, is something happened with Ledger recently. They had a lot of data leaks going forward, and scammers are sending this consistently to a lot of Ledger users out there. And now it's just scary because they think it's a real thing at the end of the day. It's so official. They're even so smart. For instance, our devices, they come packaged with a kind of a sticker, and this sticker is usually put over the port of the USB-C, and it's kind of a reflective holograph sticker. They put that on the letter to make it even seem more original. And it is just like we are like always like baffled, like, wow, this is like a quite insane touch of detail from a scammer. He has to do this individually on thousands of posts and send them out. But we haven't observed one great thing. What we have observed is the QR code, which was linked in this letter, is long dead. So that QR code now is not working anymore, and the QR codes which they're sending out from these like posts, which we get tagged on, they're not working anymore. We tested every single one of them. So we have an idea that this was kind of a mass sending of posts and letters in massive quantities, and now the QR code is just dead. So at least that's a small win for us at the end of the
day. That's a great upside compared to a digital scam where they can just like come up with a new link again and again and again and again. But like if they're sending out a letter, if that QR code is dead, I mean, they can't upgrade like in Harry Potter yet.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Juan, what about you? I know you had like the topic of the fake apps in the app stores lately.
Mhm.
And I also saw, I think yesterday or this morning, a post about like another Bitcoin wallet showing up in the Apple Store, which is not an official app from the manufacturers of that wallet. So if you download that wallet and you enter your seed phrase inside of this wallet, what happens? All your
Yeah, I mean,
stuff will be stolen.
it's the same thing that we are discussing here. Like mostly wallets, I would say, and some of them like are currently working with us. Those are the ones that we detect more like fake apps on not only on the Apple Store but also on Google Play Store, and also things like fake Mozilla Firefox add-ons and these kind of threats. They are being targeted. I mean, they know how to do it. They know how to operate. They also know how to position those apps on the Apple Store. So depending on where you currently base and where you open that, because you have like different marketplaces depending on which part of the world you are. But pretty much the scam theme is the same. Like you go there, you put your wallet address. You may have like as Michael mentioned, like someone from the fake support assisting you on doing this. And if you do, you get your wallet drained. We have seen one pretty big issue with Ledger, where I think that the news was like one guy that was basically scammed for more than 5 BTC at the time, 5.92. And then I think SAC XPT did like a research on that and actually discovered that that fake app, drained millions out of different users. So this, in my case, puts attention that this is something that wallets need to be really aware that this is something that scammers are doing, and it's something profitable for them, because we need to understand that everything like this is like a numbers game, and it's like a money game as well. If they are seeing success in doing these fake apps, they're going to keep on doing those. It's not like a problem that is going to be stopping anytime soon. I saw also that Apple had like different ways and different updates on like different apps that are going to be allowed on their systems. But I'm quite sure that the scammers already are aware of this and are working out ways to basically position their apps even better than the other ones. And one last thing to mention on this is that when it comes to impersonations, scammers are also trying to take down and suspend the official accounts of team members and the official accounts of the company itself. So the one account that a user finds whenever they are trying to scam like a certain community for that company is the only one that they have that is a fake one. So I think companies also should be aware that their accounts are in risk, and they should have like a plan in case their accounts get suspended.
Just a quick important note, I think, on that is I've noticed some organizations choose not to create official accounts on some platforms. Like, for example, some orgs we work with won't have like a Telegram account or anything else like that. But I think it's actually important to lock down at least one official account on each platform, because it lets you point to which one is the official one. And actually, when we handle the takedowns on these platforms, it helps a lot if we can point to what is the official one, because you can show direct impersonation. And platforms are actually slower to act if you can't point to the official one, because they're afraid of like, wait, what if we do ban the official one? And they're hesitant to act, right? And so if you can, but then, how do you prove that the organization does not have an official account unless you have some like sort of like signed letter from them or something else like that, right? So it's it becomes much more challenging. So lock down your handles across the different platforms.
Didn't we have this on Twitter at one point when we were reporting someone as an impersonator, when we had to choose like the original account?
Yes,
sometimes
on Twitter
you had no choice
to
to make, because I don't know.
Yeah, on Twitter you have to do that.
Yeah, but Michael, coming back to the education part of things, if we're talking about like the seed phrase thing, once a user understands that if I get like a hardware wallet or a cold wallet and the seed phrase is the most important things I need to protect, it's basically like a good starting point, I think, for the people to understand that if you have a seed phrase, please don't ever share it with anyone, like at all, like on the whole world, don't share it with anyone. Because I'm just thinking about these software type of wallets, which Juan just touched on, is basically if you're just downloading an app from the App Store and you're trying to restore a wallet, you always have to enter a seed phrase. And this is like the death of you if it's just a fake app and you don't know that's a fake app.
Yeah. So, one quick question that I want to add to Michael on that as well is that you mentioned, for example, that one good thing to do like as Inishin is to like check your different seed phrases and also know that basically they get access to your hard wallet. But what would be the best way for users to do that? Because if you get like your test, let's say your seed phrase in like hot wallets, the whole point of your cold wallet doesn't make a sense, right? So what is the best way that a user can check that their free seed phrase is actually good and it's not like corrupted?
This is like a very interesting question. So I'll just start from point A to point B. So for instance, when it comes to the type of applications out there, I think that this will be also something that Android and Apple have to touch on, and other phones out there. When it comes to the website ones, I think these are more like official type based. However, we have seen in the past that even scammers will go as far as that to just copy everything and just put a malicious type of application that has completely the same mechanism as anything else. And the most important thing is like kind of what we do special. What we do is when you buy yourself a Trezor device, you open it up, there's a QR code linking you to our official website. And this is basically kind of the way that people can download it immediately from the Android store or from the normal like web Chrome store. What is kind of also important to understand is, now just jump to one application idea that came through my head, is I see a lot like on the timeline that there are these application wallets that you can basically get just through signing in for your Google account or any type of account, and you get the like a wallet that you can use. And a lot of people, they transfer it based on the idea that there's great API and stuff like this. And this is also how many times people will start believing the idea that, hey, everything is safe, like they still have a wallet there and so on. So their mind bends a little bit around that. When you're talking about passphrases, and let's say you're going from a hot wallet to a cold wallet, what we always do, and we always say, is you want to create a completely new address that is completely non-traceable towards or to your previous hot wallet. Because what a lot of times they will do is they will even try to spam you with fake dusting attacks or even poisonous attacks, which we have kind of seen people, they do try to, scammers, they do relatively try to do that. So you want to start completely fresh. You can either send it quickly to exchange to then send it to your cold wallet if you really want to completely delete the historical path of it. So that's one thing which we do kind of try and recommend, but never hold it on an exchange for a longer period of time. You just want to make quick sendings here and there. But let's be honest, if you're going to, for instance, take it from a hot wallet that's already, like, let's say, compromised with dusting and pass, you will then send it to your cold wallet. It kind of creates a loop of never-ending threats coming your way. So create a fresh wallet, create a completely fresh passphrase, a new one that you have and that they probably cannot find out about it. This is what we always do recommend, especially if you do want to be even more higher up of a person which wears a tinfoil hat. You can wipe your device first way thing you buy it, you can wipe it, and then you can re-enter a new wallet and a new passphrase.
Yeah, I think actually, like I think Juan also implied that users probably should do the seed phrase creation. They should write everything down. Then they should like check one or two wallet addresses that they see.
Yes.
Then they can reset their device, try to restore the seed phrase, and see if the same wallet addresses comes up. Because I also have a case of a DM where someone had a ledger and they created a seed phrase. The ledger reset itself, and now the seed phrase that they have written down, they cannot access their wallets anymore. So they either put in a passphrase, which they don't remember, or they like kind of change the words around or switch the words or have written down a word that sounds similar, like, I don't know, rock or rocket or something like this. Would be like a case to deploy more time to, but obviously I don't want to ask them for the seed phrase so I can try out, but would be a nice case of recovery, I guess.
That would be a very a very painful journey of recovery.
Yeah. Michael, you also talked about having the option to do backups with seed phrases, and I know you guys, you do sell hardware wallets, of course, but you also do recovery options, like the Trezor Keep, which is like a capsule where you have the option to stamp your seed phrase in and then place it somewhere no one is able to find it like easily, obviously, because they can access your seed phrase then. But it stands the test of time against like fires and floodings and stuff like that, because keeping the seed phrase safe at the end of the day is like, yeah, the biggest issue, I guess, like the retail users are facing.
I 100% agree with you this one, and I got actually a funny story towards this. So the Trezor metal keep is basically like a capsule, as you'd imagine it. However, it's actually quite heavy. Like, to be honest with you, it feels like a solid like 3 kilos in your hand, and it is actually quite small. So it's made out of very quality materials. You basically open it, you stamp in your wallet backup and everything else, if you want even your passphrase, and then you can store it somewhere safely. Now, we've seen very interesting places where people do store this, or they tell us where they do store it. They would store it in their family tree in the garden, or somewhere under a plant. So they're very like paranoia people, which they do try and store this in interesting places. Some people, even worse, they will store it somewhere in a bank vault, like let's say in Germany. And then what happens is somebody drills through the wall and steals everything. So we do not recommend that. But the interesting story I'll give you guys, just to understand, we have a kind of a Czech YouTuber, which is a guy who tests out wallet backups and everything in terms of like the hard metal cases, like the Trezor Keep Metal. Now, he's probably our most favorite YouTube account out there. This guy has probably sub 100 followers, but he does the most insane testing of like all times what we see. He puts it into corrosive liquids to see how long the device, to see how long the Trezor metal keep lasts. He puts it into a furnace to see how hot can it last. And every single time he would test it out, we're like, okay, we haven't tried this yet. This is quite unique for us. So we would keep on improving it until he cannot kind of destroy it. So that was like a funny story we actually had at Trezor. But my recommendation is, let's say you get yourself a Trezor metal backup. The safest place where it can be is somewhere hidden inside your house. It's also very hard to kind of spot and to understand what this capsule is. A lot of people, they also carry it like when they travel. I heard around their necks, but it is quite heavy. And I would never bring this at all with you anywhere. It's supposed to stay somewhere safe. So just hide it somewhere inside your house. If you're brave enough, sure, hide it in your tree or somewhere like this. But you want to remember where it is, again, in case your house burns down or survives flooding.
I have one of them, and I can say if someone's trying to branch attack you, you can probably knock them out first with that thing.
Exactly, that thing is it's very heavy, and it's quite like fun to have one of those actually, because nobody would actually guess how it works or how it reads as well.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say, Michael? Like, if I'm a standard Web3 user, I'm listening to this right now, and probably I have my seed still written down on paper. Yep. And still intact, hopefully, and not like the ink is smudged or something like that. What's like the best thing you would recommend someone if we're just talking about seed phrase security?
I would say practice seed phrase security, practice seed phrase recovery. Most importantly, you do want to try it on yourself to have self-belief and self-trust that if something happens to my device, let's say, something could happen, the battery dies out, the screen goes, or something like this. You want to be sure that you can recover it in any other way possible. You want to understand also what is the difference between, like, let's say, BIP39 and SLIP39, which wallets can recover my wallet backup. So you want to practice these sort of ways of recovery, regardless, even if you have the best tech, the best devices and everything, anything could go wrong, and you must always be prepared to be able to recover your wallet backup securely and be sure that it's not compromised as well.
Yeah, that's a great one. Nikita, anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I do think testing this kind of doomsday scenario is important, right? I think a lot of people think they are ready, but really there's so many things that will put you into a panic or that you won't be ready for at the time. And yeah, I think just still, even if you have this separated out, like good device security overall is still important. Like, yes, it's a cold wallet, but we've seen ways that, if your device gets compromised, maybe you had the seed phrase there before. Sometimes maybe even like, I don't know, things like your cameras are compromised and they could be watching, like, this is rare. Like, this is now going into like the nitty gritty of it, but If you are like storing really huge amounts, you just need to think that, if you're stealing, if you have like, say 10 million stored on there, I mean, maybe I should have a better setup, but even if you have 1 million, that means the attacker can spend up to like, say, $500,000 worth of resources trying to attack you, and it will still be worth it for them, right? So you need to think about the amount of money being stored there. Increases the amount of effort that the attacker can spend targeting you.
Yeah, it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi always said, there's always bigger fish, like in the sea. And like we've seen that happen quite a lot. Like for instance, like let's just give you kind of an idea what had happened there in the past. For instance, is our first model that ever came out. It had, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was kind of a big video made upon it that it could be now, of course, in a certain way, like hacked, and it would be via voltage. Like let's say this is a completely like a hard hack. It means that's just physical. There's no really like any software hacking. It's literally using electrical, you could say, currents and testing out where's the pen proof. And this was actually quite a great way for us to. We already knew it for a long time. We stated this already for a long time, but it was kind of a great building block to understand that even if you were to be a hacker and you were to get a physical device, you would have to have a most likely a laboratory with all the most insane type of, I would say, specifications and devices to crack something like this. But this is not anymore the case for us because we create our own chips as well, and we use them, we pen test them and everything. But let's say, for instance, if you are somebody who thinks of like I'm a threat online, I mean I'm becoming like a target, of many type of scammers. The best thing I would recommend is to completely just kind of disappear for a little while. You will want to change your address again, completely like clean wipe your device and make sure that you're becoming untraceable. And that's why we see like a lot of people want the Monero type of wallets now to come out. We see that a lot happening there. And this is probably also due to the case that a lot of these hacks are going on now and people are believing, we're not safe anymore. We need to really even become now more secure. We do not want to be the target of any other scammers or dusting protocols or stuff like this.
Oops, we lost Mike, I guess. Let's see if we can get him back before we're wrapping this. But yeah. This was, I think they were great insights delivered during the episode. I think if you're just like a normal user in Web3 and you aren't that deep into wallet security in general, there's a lot to go back to and listen to what Mike has to say. Yeah, there you are again. You rocked us for a second.
Yeah, there seemed like it was written an error on StreamYard, and I just got kicked out for a second. But I'll leave it there as it is.
We tested your seed phrase live on stream. No, I just wanted to like wrap the episode because we're nearing the hour with some kind of best wishes from each of you for the future for wallets, not even hardware wallets, but also software wallets in general. Like if you could made up a scenario when you're thinking about this would be the ideal type of wallet that we would be getting. Nikita talked about time gating before. What type of changes would you see or like to see implemented like very soon? Mike, maybe starting with you first.
Okay, so most importantly, I think the threat of quantum computers are coming about now. And this is going to be a very big, massive game changer to the entire crypto security ecosystem. And we are very well aware of this type of event happening. That's why we created the first ever, I would say, hardware. It's the first ever hardware wallet with quantum ready hardware in it. Means that once all the protocols, let's say in crypto, are ready with their quantum security updates, we're the first to implement this into our device, meaning that our device would be protected against quantum threats going forward. So this is, I think, the biggest threat, and at the speed that it's going, and there are people, I mean, we saw Google create a blog about this. It could be nearer than ever, or it could be further than ever before. So this is really, I think, a big threat in terms of everybody's assets, regardless hot wallet or hard wallet. This is a very important thing to go forward with in terms of security overall.
Nikita. What about you?
Sorry, I just realized I was still muted. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things on my side. I definitely think the time gating is an interesting idea. I think this is maybe a complex one, but maybe like an alert system for you to know if you've been impacted on a smart contract hack. Because typically there is something you can do. Now, again, that's also how the phishing attackers get to you, is like they send you a scary warning and say, hey, you've been impacted and you need to do this ASAP. And so I don't know, there needs to be some sort of like verification method there that you can know like this is like actually, but maybe it can be on device, right? Because if it's on device, then that's like a trusted source. I think maybe there's some sort of opportunity there. Again, I don't know if you're able to like push notifications to the device. I'm guessing it's, well, if it's a cold wallet, probably not, because it's not connected to the internet.
It's like I think it's we've only gone as far enough as to create games on the wallet for now.
Yeah.
But I think like it's actually quite a cool concept, because this would be great if there was a let's say a data scraper that scrapes wallets like 24/7, and your wallet would be there and finds, oh, it seems like you have been dusted or poisoned in some sort of way. That could be a great AI agent creation, though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, just to know, like, are you being targeted by an attack? Do we have any sign of information that you might be being targeted actively, whether like with a direct attack, or maybe you're impacted by one of these hacks? Because typically there is something you can do. Maybe move your fund. Sometimes there's still pools that might be under effect that you can move your funds out of, or something similar that can reduce your exposure. So yeah, like we're saying, well, for these areas that are maybe like out of control of the cold wallet itself, but are still impacting the user, maybe there can be some sort of like notification system there. But yeah, those would be like my my top ones. I think also, yeah, so it's like time locking, some sort of notifications if there's a hack ongoing. And yeah, maybe that idea of even the stickers you mentioned before, like I think we might be moving to a world where it's almost like cash, where like the cash has like certain like patterns embedded, that make it extremely difficult to fake. So I wonder if like we can even have something to that level where the delivery of the devices has I think the holographic sticker is a good idea. Maybe you even start like continue iterating on that to the point where it's like to the quality level of like you can tell if cash is fake or not. Only like it's almost impossible to fake. You would have to have like government levels, very specific machines to create this. Maybe that's worthwhile building out as well.
We actually have like when you basically first start up your Trezor and it goes through the first firmware check, it runs through the authenticity check to see if this device is actually registered in our data system. So basically, there's a way to kind of know which device it is, and so on, because we've seen sometimes that they would like to create fakes, or it's quite impossible to install malware into it. We've tested it out, but there's always a way that somebody smart enough out there could try and do something like that.
Juan, last words for you for today.
Yeah, I would say as an end user, I'm thinking if we can get out of the seed phrases for cold wallets, like if there is a way to avoid this, because I think we have seen historical cases like the guy that pretty much lost his hard wallet and is like in a big duster and has like millions of Bitcoin in there and is basically unrecoverable right now. Is there a way to prevent this in the future? Like if someone for any reason gets to me, gets like all the different backups, there is a way to actually get and recover that outside the seed phrases, outside also of the different services that can be done right now. I'm just thinking about, I don't know, any technology that came up from, I would say, in the next 5 years. Would be interesting to see how we can change the whole mind about like associating hardware wallets with phrases. Like what is like the next generation of hardware wallets going to be looking like without that. But yeah, just some thoughts on that.
Have this funny joke like going around. It's like anybody who is such a big of a target, who has millions of dollars and is a constant like being constantly attacked and constantly targeted, he should just buy himself a solid gold brick the size of his table, so nobody can actually move that, and it just stays on one spot forever. But it's just like a thought, because we do understand that the bigger you are, as you said, the more targeted you're going to get.
Yeah.
That's
I also
really-
think that we're coming back like full circle in this episode. If we're talking about like a security council, like these people will be targets as well. We had Griff on the other day, Nikita. Like those people voting on these mechanisms, even if they are not like physical targets, there might be social engineering targets, etc., bribing. I don't know what's going to happen to them. God bless, nothing happens to them. But we gotta be aware of the threats that arise, I guess. But that's for another episode. Michael, thank you very much for your time. Nikita, Juan, thank you for your time. We're gonna see us next week, and everyone stay safe out there. Stay tuned. We're gonna see us auf Wiedersehen, wie wir in Deutschland sagen.
Auf Wiedersehen. Bye, guys.
Hello.